Spring, a season where nature blooms and animals recover from their hibernation, has arrived. It's the entrance ceremony of Higashi High School. Our protagonist, Hodaka Nenamura, reflects on how most manga start in spring, capturing the excitement that fills the air with warmth. This atmosphere sets everyone, including him, to look forward to the future. As he breathes in the spring air, he questions if this is the beginning of his youth. He notices how everything feels too lavish, something his middle school self would have run away from. But now in high school, he is no longer afraid of cafes. He dreams about friendship and clubs, and of course, love. Proudly, he boasts that his future is so bright that it hurts his eyes. He marvels at how spring is a magical season where everything seems to go smoothly. He recalls his dad saying he would walk 10,000 steps every day, and for some reason he feels he might be able to achieve that. Hodaka admires the beauty around him until he notices dog excrement on the ground. He exclaims in frustration that no one should defecate on such a good road, especially since someone has already stepped in it. Despite this, he tells himself not to worry because spring has finally arrived after his gray-toned puberty. Excitedly, he declares this as the start of his sparkling high school life. Time passes by, and the scene shifts to 3 years later, a day before the graduation ceremony. Hodaka finds himself in a funk because high school turned out to be a snooze fest with no standout moments. He never dipped his toes into the waters of youthfulness. No clubs, no friends, no girlfriend. As he gazes back at the school building, he ponders if he missed the memo on how to have a memorable high school experience. Turns out, making a splash in high school takes more than just showing up. For someone in the running for most boring student, a thrilling school life was never on the cards. He missed out on Starbucks runs and had extra cash but no squad. The only detour he ever took was to grab some novels. At the traffic light, he overhears other students making plans and begs them not to discuss it in front of him, considering how he feels. He remarks that he cannot understand their feelings when they say goodbye to friends, as they have been bidding farewells since elementary school and should be used to it. His inner self retorts that he is not used to it because he has no friends. Putting away those accurate criticisms, he admits he also wants a friend, like in the novels he reads. Hodaka knows that convenient friends aren't real, and that pretty girls who talk to him or kind gals who like otakus are just urban myths. He realizes that most school novel protagonists are friendless and have twisted personalities. With a shrug, he accepts he won't make friends, no matter how hard he tries. Looking back on high school, he admits that grinning like an idiot or keeping up with pointless chatter just isn't his style. He decides it'd be rude for someone like him to make friends anyway, so being friendless suits him just fine. He checks his phone and notices his views are up. Secretly aiming to become a novelist, he tells himself he's working toward a better future, while everyone else wastes time. Still, he can't ignore the fact he's only published 3 drafts, each left hanging with a "to be continued" after 20 chapters. His work isn't exactly award-worthy, and though an entire class once read his first chapter, only a handful of readers stuck around. He jokes, asking his readers why they continue reading. Is it some sort of punishment? He admits that his content is boring and drains his motivation to write, knowing that if he stops updating, nothing in the world would change. In his first year of high school, he read light novels and excitedly thought about making his debut. Over time, he slowly realized his worth. He begs his editor to let him debut before he dies, even if it means licking the editor's shoes, though he wouldn't like it. Unfazed, he sighs and notices the light has turned green while he was tense about his tragedy. As he watches a group of girls stroll past, he can't help but wonder why they insist on walking in a single-file line. Meanwhile, our protagonist prides himself on being a lone wolf who takes up minimal space, speaks softly, and causes no trouble, all in the name of reducing his carbon footprint. Despite rarely venturing outside, he spots Hana Mitsuji, a classmate he's admired for 2 years, and immediately dismisses any thought of engaging with someone so dazzling, deeming it a fruitless endeavor. While her attention is diverted, he quickly spots the red light and shouts of warning. But before she can react, she finds herself in the path of an oncoming truck. Abandoning his bike, Hodaka leaps into action, feeling like a clumsy hero in a cheesy novel. Despite his lack of athleticism, he shoves her out of harm's way, nervously hoping he won't get sued for accidental touching. Meanwhile, he curses the thought of his family discovering his questionable internet history after his untimely demise. Still conscious, he sees her crying as she begs him not to die. He wonders what her first name is but is unable to speak. Her friends worriedly informs her that an ambulance is on its way. Hana Mitsuji repeats her sentiment, and in his consciousness, he realizes he's powerless even if she asks. She apologizes to him, and he's tempted to tell her to stop because he did this to himself. As he contemplates the situation, he humorously thinks that if this were a novel, he'd probably end up in another world. She calls him by name, begging him again, revealing she knows who he is. He prays that if he opens his eyes again, it will be in another world. There is a blackout, and when he opens his eyes, he is shocked. He questions if he really didn't get hit by a truck and can't believe he escaped the accident without a scratch, with all his limbs intact. He concludes that he hasn't been reincarnated into another world and realizes he is in his own room, thinking it was just a dream. He notices something strange. His uniform on the wall is missing, some books on his shelf are not there, and the light novel he was halfway through has been replaced by a nostalgic story he read long ago. He sees the phone he bought when he entered high school and notices it looks too clean for a product that's 3 years old. Checking the date, he is stunned to see it is exactly 3 years ago, the day he first entered high school. As he walks downstairs, he thinks thoroughly because going back in time seems impossible, and this isn't a novel. He believes the 3 years of high school weren't just a dream because he remembers everything clearly. Looking at himself in the mirror, he notices he looks younger. His sister, Satsuki, asks what is wrong, reminding him that staring in the mirror won't make him handsome. He notices she looks younger and remembers she must be in her second year of middle school. He didn't recall her looking so young 3 years ago and can't believe she will turn into a beauty in 3 years. She catches him shedding tears and inquires the reason, finding it somewhat alarming. He can't shake the thought of her future, which takes her by surprise, and she anxiously questions if he despises the entrance ceremony that badly. Taken aback, he realizes he is supposed to attend the entrance ceremony today. She explains that he was boasting about getting a girlfriend during the ceremony yesterday. He's in total disbelief, wondering if he was actually that pumped 3 years ago and if he stood a chance of landing a girlfriend at the event. All he wanted was to make some new buddies, but she fires back that he was so hyped up, he regressed mentally to grade school level. Despite finding her teasing annoying, he begrudgingly admits it wasn't half bad. He starts to doubt himself, thinking it was just mediocre. She inquires about his mention of 3 years ago, to which he coolly responds with a dismissive remark. She's not having it, mentioning his sudden burst of tears. He rushes to his room, flings open the closet, and comes face to face with his pristine uniform. As he reads a note, a wave of realization washes over him. He's back to square one. Yet he can't wrap his head around this cryptic beginning. At the breakfast table, his dad reveals he plans to walk 10,000 steps every day. Both he and Satsuki respond dryly as he muses that their dad gave up in 3 days and repeated this plan 5 times during his high school years. On his way to school, he questions if he really has traveled back in time. He notices the same scenery and his hazy memories of 3 years. Everything around him looks tiny, and he doesn't even feel like a new student. He sees dog excrement on the ground, just like on the day of his entrance ceremony 3 years ago. Dramatically, he realizes these are memories from 3 years ago, confirming his time travel. In class, a guy named Kuno introduces himself and jokes about stepping in poop. Hodaka can't believe this unlucky guy is his classmate and recalls someone making this same introduction before. He admires extroverts for their boldness, thinking he would have tried to hide such an incident. It's his turn to introduce himself, and he imagines saying he comes from 3 years in the future, but instead gives a simple, unremarkable introduction. The reason for his time travel and how to return to 3 years later are still unknown. The best he can do now is to avoid traffic accidents. Students chat amongst themselves, and he notices how young they all are, hurriedly making friends to solidify their high school lives. He admits he used to be one of them, constantly being served with defeat. He clarifies that he's not socially inept. He can hold a conversation, but simply can't stand small talk. Being unable to make friends in the past, he embraced the solo life. Despite his initial attempts, all his efforts went down the drain, leading him to surrender. Now he identifies as a tragic lone wolf, mingling with many but failing to form any bonds. Reflecting on what others think of him, he decides this time will be different because he has experienced high school once. He will live this life using what he learned previously. He is not suited for building interpersonal relationships. The best thing he can do now is to get up and go home. He calls it perfect, the literal perfection of himself. The skill to leave the classroom right after homeroom is beyond the reach of a new student. Attempting to make his grand exit, a girl decides to play the role of a doorstop. He brushes her off like a pro, feeling smug about not falling for such a rookie move. He pats himself on the back for his epic growth since his return. But then she goes all arm-grabby on him, demanding to know why he's giving her the cold shoulder. Cue the shock. She's legit trying to find him. And he's like, wait, no one's supposed to know who I am yet. She finally tracks him down and he recognizes her face. She hits him with the classic "Remember me?" And he's like, oh, it's you, Hana Mitsuji. She drops his name and bursts into tears of pure joy that he's still kicking. Talk about a tearjerker moment. Now he's hit with a blast from the past. Her crying when he got mowed down by a truck. Why bring that up now, brain? They moved to the 5th floor of the special building to avoid talking in front of the classroom. Despite everything, spending 3 years in school taught him where the quiet places were. She offers a quick sorry for causing a spectacle, but he brushes it off and casually brings up the memories from 3 years down the line. As they hold hands, she assures him that he also recalls. Surprised by the electric shock of her touch, he basks in her warmth. Grateful, she admits she would have been toast without his heroics, expressing her thanks from the depths of her heart. Feeling something tingle inside his chest, he scratches his head and sadly tells her he was just trying to do her a favor and she shouldn't worry. Confused, she asks what he means. He remarks that it's nothing, pondering that it's his personal trauma, and he doesn't need to say it out loud. He's glad to hear something other than sorry from her. She is happy he's doing fine and that her effort paid off. He already had a gut feeling when she called him. In disbelief, he asks if she was the one who caused this to happen. She smiles, confirming his suspicion, and reveals that it's a long story. She asks if he wants to hear it. After hearing her, he asks what he should say as if he knew all along. He passed away after that accident. She longed for her Savior's return, but he was already gone, leaving her with only prayers to the gods. With a family of priests and a home that doubles as a grand shrine, she knew the outcome was out of her hands, yet she continued to pray in the depths of the forest shrine. When she wakes up, she realizes she has been transported back 3 years to the first day of school. Initially shocked, she ponders whether he would still be alive if she had been at the entrance ceremony. Confessing everything to him, she reassures him it's okay if he doesn't believe her because, let's be honest, even she didn't see that twist coming. He stares blankly, wanting to ask her many things but refrains from asking stupid questions. It seems ridiculous, but he thinks it is more realistic than getting reincarnated. Though he knows many challenges lie ahead, he chooses to speak his mind first. Bowing, he thanks her sincerely, and she responds nervously, saying it's okay. Their eyes meet briefly before they both glance away, flustered. He saved her life, and then she saved his, leaving his heart with a lingering ache. He suddenly questions her about why she reversed time to 3 years ago and not a week before the accident. She counters, asking why she would know and that he should inquire with the gods. Momentarily stunned, he tells himself he wouldn't be so troubled if it were as simple as that. He speaks up again and requests her to make them return to 3 years later. She is shocked by his request. He curiously questions if she didn't pray in the shrine and suggests they might go back if they pray sincerely. She awkwardly replies that it might be an option and counter-questions if the gods will keep making their wishes come true, doubting they are that bored. He questions how she knows the gods' schedules. He notices the strange mood and asks if things would be hard for her if they returned to 3 years ago, proposing they visit the shrine and pray first. She hesitates but then sighs and agrees to his proposal. He notices she doesn't seem eager and mentions it takes more than an hour from his home to get there. He is in awe after seeing the shrine and did not expect her to be an Oju-sama. He comments on not feeling any excitement despite visiting a girl's house because it is a shrine. She points in a direction and they head that way. They arrive at a small shrine and he's surprised, thinking it would be larger. She shrugs, saying there's a reason though she doesn't know it. Her brother is the heir anyway. She then teases him, asking if he's going to pray since it was his idea. Taken aback, he asks if he's supposed to bow twice, clap twice, then bow once, admitting he's never done it before. She shows him to clasp his hands and begins chanting. Dumbfounded, he asks if that isn't just a prayer to Buddha and wonders if there's something more traditional. Irritated, she retorts she just prayed however she could back then. Finally, they settle on hoping and praying in their own way, leaving it to the gods. After an hour, they are both tired, and he regrets the idea of coming here. She whines, reminding him that she did mention the gods are swamped with prayers. He scoffs at the idea of prayer and voices his exhaustion, to which she retorts that she already warned him, but he chose not to listen. With a mischievous glint in her eye, she casually inquires if he's cool with jumping back 3 years in time. Perplexed, he asks for clarification, prompting her to question whether he miraculously dodged a truck accident and if they can now rewind to right before the impending collision. Imagine that, time traveling to the exact moment he's about to get smacked by a truck. Stunned, he enthusiastically accepts the challenge of living through high school life once again, acknowledging it will be hell. He bluntly apologizes for dragging her into this mess. She tells him not to worry, smiling as she says that everyone wants to save someone who died with them and that she doesn't regret it. He is stunned, finding it hard to believe, and tells her she is very kind. With a thoughtful expression, she replies that it isn't the only reason. Confused again, he watches as she turns around and suggests they head back. On the way, she discloses that this is the first time they've had a proper conversation. He agrees, noting in his mind that this is indeed their first proper chat, and it feels somewhat strange. She turns back, suggesting they call it a day. They both need time to adjust to this new life. He smiles, grateful, and thanks her for her help. When she beams back at him, he silently pleads with her not to, afraid his lonely heart might take it the wrong way. He saves her contact and asks if the shrine sells traffic safety charms. It's been 10 days since his second life began, and he's adjusted surprisingly well, crediting his experience with time travel novels. People might wonder if it's boring to restart from a third year to a first year, but he figures it would be different if he'd gone back to elementary school. He muses that classic time travel stories often involve saving a heroine or the world, but for him, there's no such mission, and he has little to do with this second chance. Considering talking it over with friends, he remembers he has none, so he turns to his little sister, seriously asking what she'd do if she went back 3 years in time. Satsuki is stunned and questions if he finally became a madman after reading all those novels. He tells her not to worry about it, and that the worst that could happen is his life would be in ruins because of that. She counters and seriously asks if she need to be serious about this. He lights up and teases her, saying he never thought he would be important to her. She sighs and reveals that she doesn't want him to turn into a NEET. Irritated, she replies that she doesn't want to have to check his body if he dies alone. A critical hit, and he is shocked, questioning if she is really worried about that. She confirms that he talked about 3 years later, and he is still stuck on what she said. While munching on cereal, she thinks and replies that studying is fine. He curiously asks if there is nothing else, and she reveals that the only good part about him is his grades. He is surprised and asks if there is nothing else good about him. She jokingly says that other than studying, he can pick up trash in town. He asks if he is now a member of the neighborhood committee and questions if her expectations of him aren't really low. While eating, she replies that it is because he is unpopular and isn't good at anything, and it's all his fault. He bluntly asks if she could be mean to someone else for a change, adding that her words only leave a lasting mark that keeps him up at night. She tells him that even if he's from the future, he's still her brother and can only do what he's capable of. Shocked, he realizes she's right. Time travel doesn't grant him any special abilities or social skills unless he's reborn with godly powers. Accepting that this life will likely be as uneventful as the last, he regrets not checking the stock market before his reset and decides to live peacefully as before. He's seen Hanmitsuji a few times at school and marvels at how she always has friends around her. They message occasionally, though he freaked out when they added each other, thinking it would be a one-time thing. When she messaged him again, he didn't reply, realizing his laziness might be to blame for his loneliness. Relationships, he notes, are harder to maintain than to start. He jokingly brags to his sister about having no friends, to which she replies that despite his big talk, he's still just friendless. When she suggests meeting up, he's stunned, replying that he's not trying to meet up offline. She's taken aback, reminding him they're classmates in real life. He insists people might dislike her if she acts too greedy for his time. Flustered, she demands to know why he's making it seem like she's forcing him. Out of nowhere, he asks if she has a crush on him. She brushes it off, and he quickly tries to exit the conversation. The reason he left her message on read wasn't because he was waiting for a reply or hoping for anything. Now he's free of any misunderstandings. Lying in bed, he wonders why she even cares about his life. She's not his mom, and even his real parents never ask about him. At school, he enjoys his sandwich, commenting on how weak it is, just like him, making him happy. He reads through his novel, and some students open the door and enter the class. He doesn't even need to glance at them to tell they are the most charming extroverts of the class. He explains that a student's status is determined by how loud they are. The louder their voice, the more power they have, and weaker groups don't have the right to talk loud. He questions if they are animals that scream to protect their territory, and as a lone wolf, He won't dare to speak as well. He thinks that if he has accepted this fact himself, then he won't be troubled. He glances at the girl standing next to him and questions in his mind if she has something to do with him. It's the gal from the extrovert group that just went past him. If his memory serves him right, then her name is Hoshigasaki. He contemplates why a famous school has a gal, but he has nothing to say because some extroverts have a high IQ and are good at everything, while the only ones who have good grades are introverts like him. She blinks at him, leaving him wondering if she's trying to unsettle him. Then she says, "Disgusting." Her voice echoes in his mind, sending him spiraling into an abyss.
Here I am.